McMenamin also detailed in the piece that a source familiar with James' thinking told ESPN that the Lakers' approach and how they showed their interest in retaining him will be a factor in his decision to return to Los Angeles or not. And so, Jay, will I ask you, have the Lakers taken LeBron for granted?
Kenny, I'm really curious to get your opinion on this because, look, the clip that's going viral around J.J. Redick getting the, 100 game ball is like fascinating, right? It's like, okay, like, is that intentional? Maybe. I mean, for a guy that is the all-time winningest player in the history of the NBA, doesn't get the game ball. But I think it's one of these it's like an underrepresented problem, I think, that sometimes happens within the league. Kenny, I'm so fascinated to hear your perspective on this one, too. I think a lot of times the public or people think that these problems are only driven because of the egos of the athlete. And a lot of times when, like, I had a great conversation with PJ Tucker the other day, and a lot of stuff is his. I'm not going to utilize names because it's his story to tell. And I've seen his accounts, too. A lot of times within organizations, you do have favoritism. You do have moments where the organization doesn't know how to really control the pecking order or handle a lot of the noise being made around the players, whether it's team seats, whether it's LeBron James cookies, whether it's the Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum situation where it's like, hey, the crowd may love it or the coach may say, this is Jason's team. Things happen throughout the course of the season, and what I would call it is a death by 1,000 cuts. There's so many things, like, Kenny, you're one of the most aware dudes on the planet, especially within the team. So there may have been teams where you may have to bow down because you recognize where the pecking order exists. But if you feel like you're on the same level of somebody and you come in and you see those 1,000 cuts, small cuts by the organization because you think you're as equal to your counterpart and not beneath, a lot of times that creates more distance and more controversy and more chaos. And to me, like, this is an example of that. I'm not saying you need to cater to every one of LeBron James's needs. I'm not saying that at all. But a lot of times we always put the onus on the player, and a lot of times it is on the organization as well to manage the egos and how they communicate that, because it does add up.
Well, I've been blessed to play with two of the greatest players that I feel has ever played in the game. And in college, I played with Michael Jordan, and in the NBA with Hakeem Olajuwon. And never, ever in their tenures that I played with them, I heard the word "my team" or "taken for granted," because the things that they worried about were not cookies. It just wasn't cookies, or seats on the plane, or seats in the stands and where they go. And if you ask me, did the Lakers take him for granted, I would say no, because he wanted Anthony Davis to be there, to somebody who could help him win a championship, they went out and figured out a way to get him. When they needed to make another trade and they brought Luka Doncic into the fold, they did it. When they needed Rui Hachimura, when they needed Rui, a guy who could be at the small forward, and when they needed to draft your son, they did it. So those are the things that make you take it for granted or not. Are you doing things to help me win championships? And so I would say, Rob Pelinka, he gets a lot of flack. However, he's made moves to always keep the team relevant. Because if Luka doesn't get hurt this year, they're possibly a team that could have contended for the Western Conference Finals. But that's how the guys I know who are the best players and generational players, that's how they look at the game. And they put that inside of the team. We never talked about parking passes. We never talk about seating. We talk about who are you bringing here to make this job easy, brother. That's it.
That's fair.
Okay. Let's take this conversation deeper. Let's throw out the words taken for granted. And instead, let's incorporate the word respect and appreciation. There's a battle that's going on here, if the reports are to be believed, and we have no reason to believe otherwise because Dave McMenamin does a great job covering the team, and obviously he's somebody that LeBron James has confided in. So LeBron James, felt like, the scoring record or, the wins rather, and, instead of him being acknowledged, Rob Pelinka acknowledges J.J. Redick. Fair enough. Forget Rob Pelinka. He doesn't really matter that much in this equation. Who matters is Jeannie Buss. Who matters are the Los Angeles Lakers. On one hand, you're LeBron James that came to the Lakers when they were losing games, when Kobe has stepped away from the game, when they clearly didn't have winning in their sights or what have you. And you go and you bless that franchise with your presence. That's something to be appreciated, one would think, by the Los Angeles Lakers if you are LeBron James. If you're the Los Angeles Lakers, you're a franchise that had 16 championships at that time. He would ultimately deliver you a 17th with the championship in the bubble, but you have a history of having stars represent your franchise. And those stars never complained about your franchise, because if the Lakers pride themselves on one thing, is that they know how to treat their stars. They know how to make stars feel special. And so because of that, what they would say is, if there is a problem emanating from LeBron James and his camp, how could that possibly be on us when no other star ever complained about being a part of our franchise in terms of anything that we would elect to do or anything that we have done? Because we take care of our stars. LeBron James, on the other hand, obviously feels a little bit differently. And so when you have a situation where it involves respect, not taken for granted, I would tell you, Kenny, you know this. Jay, you know this. Taking for granted, all that stuff, throw that out the window. But you better not have Akeem Olajuwon feeling disrespected. You better not have Michael Jordan feeling disrespected. Remember when he felt disrespected by Jerry Krause? Remember what that was like for Jerry Krause after that? You understand what I'm saying? Because Michael Jordan didn't publicize anything, but it was clear he ain't having that. And Akeem the Dream Olajuwon, have you met that man? Have you talked to that man, ladies and gentlemen? Chances are you don't have to. Because let me tell you something. He is a walking embodiment of a man who requires respect. He is a kind, gentle man, but do not think for 1 second that you could disrespect that man and get away with it. So we have those things going on, where if you're LeBron James, what's your definition of disrespect? If you're his camp, what's your definition of disrespect? You listen to some folks talk about it, they'll tell you that LeBron is committed to excellence, whereas the Lakers were willing to accept mediocrity. And that's not something that he was going to stand pat for. Obviously, the Lakers would refute such a notion. They would say there's no way in hell there's any truth to that. So you're not on the same page, not to mention the fact he's in his 40s and on his way out, and Luka's in his 20s and hasn't even hit his prime yet. So all of those things, it was one thing to have a new face of a franchise, but it's another thing to be ecstatic that you got the new face to such a degree that you give the impression to the older guy, now you can get your ass on out of here because we don't really want you here that much anymore anyway. Until Luka gets hurt 2 days later, after that incident in the locker room, and Austin Reeves goes down with his oblique injury, and suddenly you find yourself having to depend on this 41-year-old in his 23rd season who just so happens to be one of the most well-conditioned athletes in the history of mankind. And oh, by the way, is clearly in better shape and healthier than the young dudes that you're supposed to be relying on. So there's arguments on both sides. But in the end, what it comes down to is this. As a basketball player and a champion, LeBron James, whether they want to admit it or not, is still needed by the Los Angeles Lakers. Yep. You still need him. You still need LeBron James, okay? Because Luka, as great as he is, hasn't shown you he can be relied upon health-wise. And Austin Reeves, with Luka, hasn't shown you that together they can win. And on top of it all, San Antonio's here, OKC is here, Minnesota is here, Houston's going to have a point guard next year. They'll be around. Denver is not going to just descend into oblivion. It's not going to happen. What are you going to do if you're the Los Angeles Lakers? You got to figure it out, and the likelihood is that you're going to need LeBron James' help to pull it off, whether you like it or not.
I agree with you, Stephen A. Kenny, just to tie in one of your last points here, when you made mention of Michael Jordan or Akeem, I love old school basketball. Because old school basketball was, if I had a problem with you,
So do I.
I was going to come up to you and say something to you about it. I was going to go chat with my friends or drop things. And I think this is a byproduct of this new generation where it's info wars all the time with stories.
But it's in fairness, Jay.
Sources,
in fairness to LeBron, in fairness to LeBron, do we know that he never said anything to them? Like, just because we don't know definitively publicly, do we know that he didn't say anything to them? I mean, it's possible, but we don't know if he's never confronted them.
I was just talking about Stephen A., just not like LeBron. I'm talking about the whole ecosystem of where we live now.
Yes.
Like we just have,
that's true.
We just have Miles Turner the other day just throw Giannis under the bus.
Yeah, out of nowhere.
Just talking about random Doc Rivers. You know, it's happening all the time with narratives that are being said. Who's first to the market? It's wild.
So we'll find out what LeBron wants to do. He's obviously weighing his options. I'm sure we will discuss this more in length throughout the entirety of the summer. Coming up here on First Take, the Knicks' success has earned them at least a week off. Here's that song again. Two-time champion Kenny Smith has some insight that is bound to get Knicks fans' attention. Kenny's sticking around. Stay tuned.